Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Gulf Shores in Orange Beach Tourism is the sponsor of our episode today. Warm temps and fresh seafood make the Alabama Gulf Coast the perfect beach destination for your family vacation, couples getaway, outdoor adventure, meetings, conferences, and conventions. Chandra Wright is our guest on the Outdoor Adventure Series today. Chandra is the Director of Environmental and Educational Initiatives at the Lodge at Gulf State Park, which is a Hilton Hotel. She works on sustainability initiatives at the Lodge and their other facilities in the park, as well as curating and creating educational opportunities for all of their guests. Chandra, it's a pleasure to have you on the Outdoor Adventure Series today. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I was excited that Easton and Kay said, if we're going to do this series, we have to interview Chandra, and your listeners have got to learn about the Lodge at Gulf State Park. So I'm excited to have this conversation. So before we jump into the park, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your background and what led you to become the Director of Environmental and Educational Initiatives?
Sure, that's not a typical hospitality job, but I like to tell as we onboard our new team members here at the Lodge, or our guests, groups that I speak with, it speaks to how unique this property is. It's not just a hotel on the beach. It's a very special place to work at. I am also not a career hotelitarian, as we like to say. Most of my team members are folks that have been in the hotel business their entire careers. I'm actually a recovering attorney. Um,
Okay.
I practiced law for about 17 years, and a lot of that was general civil practice. I did a lot of family law, domestic relations, divorce work. That's not a real happy business to be in. And I had actually moved to the coast of Alabama from Montgomery back in 2008 because I had gotten certified to scuba dive.
Mm.
And so I finally got tired of driving to the coast to spend weekends scuba diving. So I packed up my practice and moved down here. And then 2 years later, we had the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill.
Ah,
So that was kind of a huge tragedy for a lot of folks. It was a huge impact to our community, but that also served as my personal wake up call to get out of work that was really kind of miserable for me and more into environmental stewardship work. So through that process, I kind of stumbled my way into hospitality and tourism. And so I actually worked with Kay at Gulf Shores Orange Beach Tourism for a while as their nature tourism specialist. I got to work with all of our amazing nature tourism opportunities and businesses down here, our fishing community, scuba diving, hiking, biking, birding, all those fun activities, which led me to get involved with the Gulf State Park project. So fast forward a few more years, and I ended up here working in the park for the Lodge, the Learning Campus, and our other entities. So that's kind of a quick overview of my journey.
I love that. And I have to share a couple things. I appreciated when you said recovering attorney. As a part of my icebreaker speech in Toastmasters, I am a recovering IT business consultant.
Excellent.
I finally woke up and said, I don't like doing this. And I actually went into coaching and leadership development. So I do a lot of career development coaching, career coaching.
Nice.
Believe it or not, that profession led me into the role of podcasting. And
Nice.
so that's a whole other journey. But now, like you, we get to do the things that we love. I'm here in Las Vegas where it's going to be 113, 14 today.
Right.
It's nice, but I am like looking forward to getting down to some wonderful beach weather, open water weather down in Gulf Shores. And I
Absolutely.
also have to share, I lived in Montgomery, Alabama for a year.
Okay.
So I'm on a total northerner. Okay. So I
I
have
appreciate that.
yeah,
I'm an
but
Air Force brat, so I haven't lived in Vegas, but have lived in a number of places. So Alabama's definitely home.
very good. Now I'm curious, one thing that you just shared You were driving down to the Gulf in the water to get to facilitate your certification as a scuba diver,
right?
but then you also shared a lot of the other environmental outdoor activities and interests. Had that those kinds of activities been on your radar, or is it something that this interest kind of developed once you kind of packed your bags and got down to the shore?
That's a great question. I guess because of being that Air Force brat and traveling the world, there was always the sense of adventure when we move to a new place, get out and explore the destination. What is there to do? What makes that place so special? So I kind of have grown up with that. So I like spending time in the outdoors. All of those things were sort of on the radar, but I have definitely developed a greater appreciation and understanding of um, how important it is for those businesses to be sustainable, not just taking advantage of the resource and exploiting it, but making sure that we're preserving, protecting, conserving it so that not only our children, but their children and their children's children will be able to enjoy and explore those same places for years and generations to come.
Very good. Now, your title, Director of Environmental and Educational Initiatives. One, I'd love to learn more about that with the premise that a hotel typically doesn't get involved in those kinds of activities. Yeah, but before we do that, you're on the Gulf, again, beautiful area. I also remember when it rains very
It
hard.
does. It does.
And you also have these wonderful little storm systems out in the Gulf that occasionally pass by.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this other event happened in
Right.
which decimated great areas of the Gulf, the Deepwater Horizon.
Right.
How did this confluence of your interest in the outdoors, this opportunity with Gulf State Park, how did that kind of come about? I mean, yes, these events are happening, but there's something here for me. This is
Right.
the career coach in me, by the way. Wanted to
Nice.
know this.
I didn't know I was gonna have a coaching therapy session, but this is great. I'll take it.
All right.
So, Gulf State Park is one of Alabama's original state parks. We opened in 1939, so the,
Mhm.
the park has been around a long time. And it's been historically Alabama's most popular state park because we do have these amazing beaches. Gulf Shores Orange Beach is Alabama's number one tourism destination because of those beaches. So, I like to say the beach is only the beginning. We like to educate people that, yes, we know that's why everybody's coming, but there's so much else to do that don't just stop at the beach. So, there was an original lodge that opened here where the current lodge sits. It opened in 1974 and it was destroyed by Hurricane Ivan in 2004. So for 30 years, it was a super important part of the local community. We hosted high school proms, Mardi Gras balls. All the community associations had their club meetings and luncheons here. So big part of the community, but it was also a huge impact to the state. A lot of the state associations had their conferences at the original lodge. And one of the things a lot of folks, most Alabamians included, don't understand about our state park system is that they're not taxpayer funded. So there's no line item in our state's general fund budget that says, here's what we're funding for Alabama state parks. They primarily operate off of user fees. So anytime we have somebody staying at one of our lodges, camping in the campground, staying in a cabin or cottage, paying to park, paying to fish, paying to do whatever, that's really what's keeping the perk system going. So that original lodge was the lead revenue generator for the entire park system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when you lose that to Hurricane Ivan, and it's not like you can just open up the next day or even in a month or two, it's really difficult for the state to figure out how are we going to restore this lost revenue? How are we going to restore the access? And so every governor from Hurricane Ivan forward tried to figure that out. So it's not until we have the catastrophe of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2010 that we suddenly become presented with some opportunities. So, with us being the lead tourism destination, most of our visitors are coming between the middle of May and the middle of August. They're trying to get in for the peak beach season.
Of course.
So The oil spill starts at the end of April, so right before that tourism season starts, and it lasted all summer. So that completely wiped out our economy for the summer. So we lose all of our income locally. This place was like a ghost town. Even before we had visible impacts from oil washing up on the beaches, people were seeing the oiled pelicans out of Louisiana. So there was the perception that, well, the Gulf is contaminated, the beaches are closed, the fish, the seafood's no good. Why are we going to come? So they were canceling their weddings, their vacations, their meetings well before we had any visible impacts. And so BP, thankfully, recognized that in addition to all of the environmental damage that they had caused and were causing, they were also causing a huge amount of economic damage. The community where we're located provides about 40% of the state's lodging tax. And so it's not just a local impact, it's a statewide impact. So BP said we're going to commit $100 million in early restoration funds to the state of Alabama. And then the state and federal trustees that are charged with investing those funds have to figure out what's the best use of this money.
Mhm.
And so they said, this is our opportunity. We can really do something special in Gulf State Park. And so they committed $85.5 million of that initial $100 million investment to the Gulf State Park Enhancement Project. That project consisted of 5 pieces. One was rebuilding the lodge. There was also a dune restoration component. There was expanding and enhancing our trail system. There was building our new interpretive center, which is down the street next to the Gulf State Park Beach Pavilion. And then there was the building of our learning campus, which is across the park over on the north side. So all 5 of those pieces were designed, well, the dune restoration was designed to restore the environment. The other pieces were designed to increase public access to the park. How do we get more people to be able to stay in the park, different price points, different access levels, increase the education and awareness. So that was a huge part of that. And that's why my job exists. I got involved because of the process of figuring out what does that look like. So I was one of those very vocal local community stakeholders that showed up for all the meetings I was invited to and said, if we're going to do this, can we please make sure we do it the right way? And so I didn't know at the time that I was working myself right into a job. That's sort of what happened. So that's how I got here.